Motion to approve?
Second. Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Ball Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Rutherford?
Yes.
Mayor Lambert?
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-22C, an ordinance amending Chapter 199, Vehicles and Traffic, subsection 46, Schedule I, Center of Street Handicap Parking of the Borough Code of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, to provide a more comprehensive list of center of the street handicap parking. Final reading.
Again, final reading, so it is open to the public for comment. Anybody want? All right, what is closed to comment? And is there a motion to approve 2021-22C?
So moved?
Second.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Ball Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Rutherford? Yes. Mayor Lambert?
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-24C, an ordinance supplementing Chapter 151, Property Maintenance, by the addition of Article 6, Invasive Plants of the Borough Code, of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, first reading.
Okay, since it is the first reading, it is not open to public comment. Hopefully you familiarize yourself, just go on the website and read about it, just to make sure that people are taking care of their property and, not becoming a problem to their neighbors. Okay, is there a motion to approve 2021-24C?
Motion to approve?
Second. Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Paul Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Rutherford? Yes. Mayor Lambert?
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-25C, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 141, Peace and Good Order of the Borough Code of the Borough of Beach Haven, first reading.
Since it is first reading, it is not open to public comment. Sherry, did you want to just give a little bit of an explanation of this one?
Yes, this would give the ability for the police department, the code enforcement officer, or the zoning officer to go ahead and issue summons for any violations to the zoning chapter, to fire inspections, or for any condition of site plan approval and a site plan approval resolution.
Thank you. Again, it is first reading, so there's no public comment. And is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Ball Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Rutherford? Yes. Mayor Lambert?
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-26C, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 176-12 of the Borough Code of the Borough of Beach Haven, first reading.
Want to give them a just brief rundown on this one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure. This ordinance clarifies our, I always have a bad microphone. This ordinance clarifies our current code about property maintenance and maintenance of sidewalks that abut property, because a lot of areas in town have a public right of way. So there was a question of whether the homeowner's property actually abuts the sidewalk. So this amendment clarifies that confusion.
Thank you. All right, since it's first reading, again, no comments, public comment. How about with the council? Is there a motion to approve 2021-26C?
Motion to approve?
Is there a second?
Second. Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Ball Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Rutherford? Yes. Mayor Lambert?
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-27C, an ordinance by the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, prohibiting the operation of any class of cannabis businesses within its geographical boundaries, and amending Section 212 of the Code of the Borough of Beach Haven, first reading.
Mayor, okay, this is a first reading, which obviously we know there's a lot of public and community concern about this. This ordinance bans every type of cannabis establishment, all 6 types under the statute. There will be time for public comment at our July 29th meeting. That's really it, unless you have any questions about it. This is the most restrictive ordinance that you can consider at this time.
And I know there was some concern about the effective date, but it would be effective if we vote again July, the end of July, it would be effective prior to the deadline. I know that was a concern of a lot of people.
Oh, yes, so this would be, if approved by the council at second reading, it would be effective 20 days after that, which would be August 18th or 19th.
18. Yes, please.
Hello, good evening. I just wanted to make a comment, and this is the first reading. You're more than welcome to make public comment during the public comment portion. But I do think that there is a place for both recreational and medical cannabis use in New Jersey. However, at this time, it is appropriate for we as a council to prohibit all 6 classes of cannabis in Beach Haven. There's been a lot of recent rumors and misinformation throughout the community, especially on social media. I continuously invite and welcome comments during our meetings so we can answer these questions to the best of our knowledge and find the answers if we do not have them. Just give you a little background. Governor Murphy signed the Adult Use Cannabis Reform Bill in February of this year, 2021. Municipalities have until August 21st to either prohibit or limit the number of cannabis establishment, distributors, or delivery services, the location, manner, and times of operation, and establishing civil penalties for violation of ordinances. The first reading tonight is for an ordinance that is prohibiting the operation of any class. There are currently 6 classes of cannabis businesses here in Beach Haven. The state of New Jersey has formed the Cannabis Regulatory Commission, the CRC. The CRC was created with appointed members by the governor to ensure a fair and equitable adult use and medical cannabis marketplace in the state of New Jersey. The first meeting was held in April of this year, 2021. Their 5th meeting will be held tomorrow, followed by 5 more this year. The timeline for the process on the CRC website for bringing adult use cannabis to market has 5 major steps. The first is described as We Listen, in which they listen to residents, potential business owners, and stakeholders, followed by We Collaborate, in which the CRC is to collaborate with municipal leaders and stakeholders all over the state. The 3rd and 4th steps are to craft the regulations for safe, equitable, restorative cannabis industries, and then voting to adopt the crafted rules. It is only then that businesses are invited to apply. At this point, the past 4 meetings that I have listened to the CRC, they're still in the listening phase of their timeline. The recreational use of cannabis is legalized in 18 states, and 18 states have legalized for medicinal only. It is now time for the federal government, when so many of Americans support passing legislation to end federal prohibition once and for all. There have been a few attempts. However, the most recent on the federal level was on May 11th of this year. The House of Representatives introduced the Common Sense Cannabis Reform for Veterans, Small Businesses, and Medical Professional Act. The legislation deschedules cannabis at the federal level, as some prior bills have sought to do, but goes on further than that by including legal protections and mandates for federal studies into medicinal cannabis. Under the proposed bill, marijuana would be removed from the Controlled Substances Act, Schedule 1, where it currently resides. Under the proposed legislation, the Food and Drug Administration and the Treasury Department's Bureau of Alcohol and Tax and Trade will be responsible for regulating cannabis nationally. I'm optimistic that this bill will move through the committee and hopefully move to the floor for a vote. However, moving forward, descheduling marijuana as a Class 1 substance at the federal level, prohibiting funding for research and studies for medicinal uses, and the state of New Jersey adopting its regulations will hopefully educate the public and lessen the stigma associated with recreational and medical cannabis.
Thank you. Any other council member like to say anything? Dr. Davis?
Basically, the most accurate data we have relating to legalizing cannabis, it came from the referendum vote in the state election back in November. And the state voted, the entire state of New Jersey, 64.8% of the people voted for legalization. Ocean County, 61.3% of the population voted for legalization of cannabis. The whole Long Beach Island, all the municipalities lumped together, the vote was 62.26% legalization of cannabis. Beach Haven, the vote was 65.04% for legalization of cannabis. Now, this vote just took place among the registered voters in the town. So it doesn't reflect the many, many people that own houses here. And although if they did have another house in New Jersey, they might have voted in New Jersey for the legalization of cannabis. But this is really the only scientific way of looking at how do we really know what people want. I've had probably over 100 emails and text messages, comments relating to cannabis. And I do not object to a cannabis business in town. There are many different categories of businesses. I don't object, but, and basically let me say for the various reasons I don't object. Number one, I think studies have been done in Colorado showing that from 1912 to 2012 to 2019, that there has been an actual reduction in use of cannabis among young people. There's been a reduction in problems. So there have been studies showing that cannabis probably has settled down since people can get it legally. I also totally believe that there's no way that we're going to stop cannabis coming into this town. And I don't think people understand that. If it becomes legal, if the Senate and the House, if everything goes as expected, it will eventually become legal. And that means that whether we have a business or not, it will be here in town. We will not be able to arrest people for it, and you can get deliveries at your home. I do feel that I would rather have some control over it in our town than having absolutely no control of it at all. I also strongly, and I have listened to people, and I strongly believe that whether you live here full time, if you own a home here, you certainly have a say. And I really have listened to everybody that has sent me emails, and I understand how they feel. I personally don't use cannabis. I don't think it's any worse than alcohol, and I really do think it should be decriminalized. And if the state does go through with this, which I'm pretty sure it will, it's going to be here. And I think most people think that within 5 years, even less, that it will be federally legalized, which will, that's a whole different ballgame. But on the other hand,
Sir, please, you gotta maintain order.
I mean, I've spent really a lot of time researching this. I've called people that basically study this, that teach it. I've looked at all different, and I mean, this is not anything I can be sure of. I was very surprised when I heard that people thought it would be federally legalized within 5 years. But I mean, that's up in the air. But I do not think, personally, the state has given us enough information to make an intelligent decision on whether we want to have a cannabis business in town. And I support this ordinance to opt out of the 6 different levels of cannabis business at this time, until I can find out more as to what the state is going to do as far as regulation. One example would be the state could very easily say that we will not allow a cannabis business within a mile of the school, of any school, which is common in a lot of towns. Well, that would totally eliminate all of Beach Haven from having any type of cannabis business. So why should we push for this at this point till we know what the state's rules and regulations are going to be, and we have enough information to really make an intelligent vote. So I personally am going to vote yes to the ordinance that says no. But I do want to be open-minded about it. I do not think cannabis is as evil as a lot of people think, but I do think we have to be careful. We don't want to have giant crowds of people coming to Beach Haven and taking up parking spots and that sort of thing to get cannabis. That's my feeling, and I just wanted to be very honest about how I feel.
Thank you.
I have something to say. So, yeah, spent a lot of time reading emails today and over this past week. Just my point is pretty brief, but as a nurse, I've seen the public health implications of drug and alcohol addiction in our town, in our county, in our state, in our nation. Ocean County is one of the highest counties in the state for drug and alcohol addiction.
Beach Haven has 10 liquor licenses, which is the most in this island within our 2.3 square miles. I understand the medicinal benefits of cannabis as an aid for individuals with chronic acute disease processes. But with all of that being said, I do not support any expansion of alcohol, cannabis, or other drug licensure in Beach Haven. So as you can tell, I will be voting yes to the ordinance 2021, 21C, 27C. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I also wanted to say, I have seen a lot of emails, some of them not so nice, some of them very nice, for and against this topic. I think this is a very polarizing issue in this street. I even think education would be very important moving forward. I do see the benefit to, the right plan in town, one that fits us, that could work for us. But again, the state hasn't defined any of the regulations on what that might be. We could zone this, we could craft an ordinance to tailor make this thing exactly the way we want to. But the state may step in at a later time and say, well, not so fast, you can't do that, and then we're stuck with a 5-year window of something that we don't necessarily want. So I think, in the interest of getting things correct, in the interest of information which is incomplete at this time, I, as a council member, do want to take a step back and wait for the state to finalize their regulations. But I would encourage people at that time too to do their own homework, do their own research. Go think outside the box a little bit. There is definitely a stigma that's associated with this that may or may not be justified. I've been doing a lot of homework on both sides of it, and I see a ton of benefits. I know we received emails from David's Dream and Jetty Rock, very much in favor of this, saying David's Dream that there's a myriad of benefits, as Chris said, for people who are ill, cancer, anxiety, post-traumatic stress syndrome, all different types of maladies. And I think it's important that the benefits are weighed just as well as the disadvantages between traffic, parking. I think the idea that this is going to bring the wrong element to town is kind of misinformed, seeing that the majority of people that use these dispensaries are middle-aged, upper-middle-class people. It's not the type of environment or economy that, the less savory people would be involved in. They would rather stay with their cheaper, less expensive, illegal, local gun, or whatever you want to call them. I think that the way, hopefully, that these laws are written, that the things that are sometimes put into legal weed, and it's written right into the law, that there would be a regulation on quality control and safety, all of these things, but we need to know these things before we can act, before we can even consider whether or not to do this. So I would encourage everybody in the room, do a little more research, look at both sides, keep an open mind. And it's, again, a polarizing topic. And know that everyone up here is hearing everybody, pro and against. And I would encourage people to just be open-minded.
Thank you. I guess that leaves me. I would like to start out by saying I know I was deluged by phone calls and emails this afternoon that somebody had taken the registration site and posted basically a seminar on the cannabis, the presentation that was originally scheduled for tonight. And I know a lot of you were very upset that your personal emails had been used for such a thing. It is unfortunate, and hopefully it will never happen again. And it's the kind of thing, unfortunately, I think it might actually not do the outcome it was supposed to, because people were very upset. So I hope nobody ever takes the borough email. It was an unfortunate event. It was not supposed to happen, but it did. So I know a lot of you have been calling and writing about that. Just want to clear that up right off the bat. It is a very divisive issue, and I'm really sorry it didn't come up last year during all the candidates forums we had. So, you could have gotten an idea of where we stand. In all fairness, I did try to keep a very open mind. I have done, as everybody else up here, considerable reading, research, trying to educate myself. I listened to a pro-cannabis presentation to further expand my knowledge. And I did learn a lot of new facts. And there is a lot out there to learn. However, I didn't hear enough to change my mind to persuade me to allow any type of cannabis business into Beach Haven. When I received a mayor's survey from the League of Municipalities back in January on cannabis implementation, I immediately spoke with Chief Markowski, as well as a member of the First Aid Squad, who made it clear they were speaking as an individual, not a member of the First Aid Squad. They were both, no, they did not feel that was right for our town. I then spoke with the other mayors on Long Beach Island, as well as county legislators, and they all said no also. I also heard from the Beach Haven Board of Education, who didn't favor the idea. And as many of you in the room I know have emailed me, made phone calls, whatever. I tried to keep, I actually lost it today because by the time I got home this afternoon, I had at least about another 15 emails sitting there. And so far, the town was saying to me, and again, you know, we still have a ways to go as far as learning what is coming down, 64 against and 1 in favor. After last Saturday night's frightening situation, do we really want to encourage more people coming into this town, especially kids? And I know at one point it was said, well, this isn't for the kids, we'll keep them out. That's a nice dream, but we all know we've had cops in shops program for liquor stores for I don't know how many years now because the kids will find a way. So I don't think that's realistic. As was already mentioned, the Cannabis Regulatory Commission is extremely disorganized right now. I listened to about a meeting and a half, and it was just, you know, very little was getting done. They need to do a lot more work before I think anybody jumps in here. Previously was spoken about from the compassionate angle. And apparently that's kind of a common one, used to get foot in the door. And we all know people who use medical marijuana personally. I can name 5 right off the top of my head. My niece died of rage. Remember, she used it for 3.5 years. People like it, it works for them, and I will not debate that. I think, you know, that's a personal choice. But my question is, why aren't the pharmacies, if this is the case, why aren't we allowed to take a prescription to the pharmacist for medical marijuana? I was told it's because Big Pharma is against it. Well, when I did a little research, it seems that the seed money for the cannabis industry way back when came from Big Pharma, Big Alcohol, and Big Tobacco. So that kind of didn't make a whole lot of sense. Then there's the fact that today's marijuana, cannabis, is not the joint of the 60s and the 70s. Unfortunately, what's happened is the THC, the psychoactive component of this, is in many instances a lot stronger than the original marijuana cigarette or whatever joint. It's the same thing that happened with cigarettes. Back in the day, the original tobacco leaf wasn't all that bad for you. It wasn't until the cigarette companies started adding nicotine and chemicals, and now all of a sudden you have something that is addictive and far more dangerous. Studies have shown that this has a greater effect on teens and young adults' developing brain. The July 6th article in USA Today published a study recently released from the National Institute on Drug Abuse stating there's a definite link between cannabis use and thoughts of suicide. And over half of severely depressed youth who were daily cannabis users. That's frightening, and I can actually say my sister-in-law's nephew did commit suicide as a synthetic marijuana user. The financial benefits have been touted, and maybe it's true, maybe it's not. Some of the places seem to think that they're a long time coming. They don't reach you as fast as you like them to be, or as fast as you're led to believe. And this big windfall, if we do see it, I think also may be taken up by additional police officers and other infrastructure considerations. I could go on that the vote, to legalize cannabis in our state and the town was more to decriminalize it when I talked to so many people, in fairness to the young people, minorities, and chronic users who are sometimes receiving harsher and more unfair treatment and penalties. That didn't mean that we were anxious to bring a cannabis business to our town. I think it was actually a very nice thing to try to do that, but at the end of the day, here we are. I really don't think we need another vice in this town. I think our family resort image is very important, and it doesn't jive with that. And because of all the reasons I just listed, I am going to be voting yes to prohibit all types of cannabis in Beach Haven. And for clarification, I think we've all made this point now. A yes vote means you're voting to prohibit any type of cannabis business within the geographical boundaries of Beach Haven, amending section 212 of the Borough Code, correct?
Correct.
Okay, then I will now make a motion to approve 2021-27C.
My second.
Mr. Allen,
Yes.
Mrs. Ball Miller,
Yes.
Dr. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Rutherford,
Yes.
Mayor Lambert.
Yes,
Before I move on to resolutions, I know for those of you who were barraged with emails this morning, I apologize for the disruption. I was tasked with getting a clear message out to as many registrants as quickly as possible and setting up an anonymous list and checking all the security and privacy features as I was instructed. Unfortunately, someone took the opportunity to blast out some information that was not authorized by the borough. And as soon as I was notified that security block was not functioning, the entire list was deleted. So my purpose was, as usual, to notify you and keep you well informed, and I just want to apologize for that mistake.
thank you.
All matters listed under item consent agenda are considered to be routine by the municipal council and it will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. Any items requiring expenditure are supported by a certification of availability of funds, and any items requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda and discussed separately. All consent agenda items will be reflected in full in the minutes. Resolution 136, authorizing the refund of a 2021 certificate of smoke detector, carbon monoxide alarms, fire extinguisher compliance application fee. 140s, returning a dumpster bond. 141s, returning park bonds. 142s, returning piling bonds. 146 is granting approval to submit a grant application and execute a grant contract with the New Jersey Department of Transportation for the state fiscal year 2022 road reconstruction project, 6th Street, Station Plaza, and Delaware Avenue in the amount of $551,670. Resolution 147, approving and accepting the state of New Jersey Department of Law and Public Safety funds as part of the state fiscal year 21 body worn camera grant program. And 148, opposing Senate Bill 3926, amending the Offshore Wind Economic Development Act and granting the Board of Public Utilities authority to supersede certain local government powers upon petition from the offshore wind projects.
Okay, thank you. Council, have any questions, concerns, wish to remove any of those resolutions?
We don't.
No?
No.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the resolution list?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Ball Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Rutherford?
Yes.
Mayor Lambert?
Yes,
I have a bill list this evening in the amount of $1,165,470.81.
did everybody have a chance to review the bills?
Mhm.
Any questions or concerns? Is there a motion to approve the bills?
Motion to approve?
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Ball Miller?
Yes.
Dr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Rutherford?
Yeah.
Mayor Lambert?
Yes. All right, we are now opening the floor to public comment. We realize that there are probably many of you that would like to speak. So instead of the usual 3 minutes, we're asking you to please hold it to 2 minutes. We're also not going to be able, I'm pretty sure, to give you a second bite at the apple. So please say what you want as concisely as possible in 2 minutes. And we will start with the room first, since you people made the effort to get here. And then we will go to the Zoom. And I think we have a couple of young ladies who would like to address the council and room first. Glenn?
Mayor, can I, sorry
certainly.
to interrupt.
Certainly.
I just want to remind the public that there will be a public hearing and public comment period on that specific cannabis ordinance on July 29th. So they might want to save their comments for there. Obviously, they're free to speak here on any topic, but there is a specific hearing on July 29th on the cannabis ordinance.
Thank you. Ladies? Oh, by the way, please clearly state your name and address, and we are asking all Beach Haven residents and taxpayers to go first. If you're not a Beach Haven resident or taxpayer, you will have an opportunity to speak after we do.
Hello, my name is Quinn Baumler, and I live at 115th Street, 115 on 6th Street in Beach Haven. I attend the Beach Haven Elementary School, and I will be a 5th grader in September. During the pandemic in April of 2020, my dad built us a quarter pipe, which is a skate ramp. It was a place that myself and my friends could meet together outside and skate together. Since then, we often go to Barnegat Light during the off season. They have a small skate park. It would be awesome if we had one in Beach Haven. I am asking the council to consider building a skate park. There are playgrounds for younger kids, basketball courts, tennis, and pickleball courts. But a lot of the kids at the Beach Haven School skateboard. Skate parks, when constructed correctly, will need very little or no maintenance. Beach Haven is unique and loves skateboarders and is a terrific place to grow up, but it would be much better if we had a skate park. We have over 150 signatures, mostly Beach Haven homeowners that support us.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ava Melandro, and I live at 403rd Street in Beach Haven. I'm here tonight to propose a skate park for kids in Beach Haven. Right now, kids who like to skate have nowhere to go and are left skating on the streets and in the parking lot of Bay Village. The closest skate park to Beach Haven is all the way in Barnegat Light, which is 18 miles away. The skate park would be beneficial to surrounding businesses as in food sales, clothing sales, and sporting equipment. Skateboarding is good exercise for kids and also for adults. Please take our proposals seriously and support the kids of Beach Haven while we try to make our dreams come true. If our proposal of a skate park is something you think has a possibility, we can bring our ideas and professionals with more information next time we meet. Thank you for listening to our ideas.
Thank you very much. Very nice job, ladies. Yes, thank you for bringing that to our attention. All right, now within the room, again, Beach Haven residents and taxpayers getting first crack here. Is there anybody who would like to come up and make a public comment? Please be sure to give your name and address.
Hi there, Scott Wells, 108 East 5th Street in Beach Haven. I own 108 and 110. My mother-in-law lives in 110, and we've been residents for 20 years, summer residents. My mother-in-law has been for probably 80. Scott Wells, 108 5th Street, Beach Haven. And my mother-in-law lives next door, also own 110. And I'd like to get more involved with these issues, particularly around the marijuana. And I'm concerned if those that do not live here full time do not have as much access to information. I've recently heard more about the marijuana in this town meeting. So I would like to get on an email list as you proposed that you're using. My other concern is just the safety for the children in Beach Haven right now. I've noticed over the years, particularly the last 2 years, increased noise on the street, increased adolescents swearing, increased people yelling or fighting. I was driving down to get my daughter at Quincy to pick her up for work at 11:45 yesterday, no, 2 nights ago. And I had my 16-year-old son with me, and a young kid, probably couldn't be more than 17 years old, wouldn't get out of the street as I was driving. So I was going very patiently. He did move over, and I went by him, and he started talking junk through my window. And I thought, what is this kid doing out at 11:45? And so I said, hey, you gotta get your shit in line, because this is Beach Haven and you can't tolerate that. So he drove in front of my car, continuing to swear, and up the street. there were a group of girls further up the street, a couple blocks, and there was an Oriental woman, probably in her 30s, running down the street, the sidewalk, not in a jogging suit, but we thought she was in trouble. So my son and I, rather than picking up my daughter right away, we followed a little bit, and we couldn't tell if these kids were harassing her, because they as she slowed down getting tired, they slowed down and were riding near her. So we pulled up next to them and asked her, did she need help? And she said no. And then she stopped with the girls that were standing there. I don't think she was their peer group. I think there was a group of people where she felt safe. But with that, I just want the council to know that. I'm concerned about the safety on the streets. Myself, I own a special ed school for adolescents, and marijuana never helps them. And some of the behaviors I see on the streets are now more concerning to me. My daughter's a black belt. I will not let her walk in the street at night. And that's concerning. It used to not be that way. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else in the room that would like to come up and speak?
Is the microphone on? Is that microphone on? Okay.
Anybody else in the room? No? Okay, Sharon, go to Zoom.
There's more hands raised on here. When I unmute you, call your name and unmute you. Please state your name and address for the record, and we'll have 2 minutes to speak, and then unfortunately I will have to mute you again. We've been having some feedback issues. So, Hugh Giordano.
Yes, can you speak? Can you hear me okay? Hello, can you hear me okay? Hello? Hello, can you hear me okay?
Not yet.
Hugh, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Hello, can you hear me?
Something to eat, Ron?
Whatever you like, Patty.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, you can hear me now. Okay, great. My name is Hugh Giordano, 57 Argyle, Blackwood, New Jersey. I'm not a
Wait. We're doing residents and taxpayers first.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Are there any more residents or taxpayers that wish to speak?
Make yourself known on the.
Yeah, please raise your hand or make yourself known.
What kind of crap was that?
Anyone else, Sherry?
No, let him speak. Don't interrupt him. What's wrong with you?
Hi, I'd like to speak.
All right, then go ahead and open it up.
Yep.
Could you turn it on?
I know where this is going.
I apologize.
Hi, can you hear me?
Is this Ramla?
It's a gateway drug.
This is Ramla, yes.
All right.
Okay,
Whatever.
go ahead, state your name and address for the record.
Ramla Moghul Tayyib Khan, 312 Center Street in Beach Haven.
Go ahead.
I'm going to draw your attention to the teen night that's being held at the Marlin. I've spoken with Sherry Mason before as well about it. Just last week, I think this past Tuesday, there were like few hundred kids that were lining up, going through the front yards, littering, swearing. There were two cops on duty on foot. I then called the regular police line. One of the supervisors of police showed up there. He also was very upset. I know Beach Haven has been having issues controlling teens, and there have been numerous incidents, residential, retail. It's been a challenge. I just want to draw your attention that why were there hundreds of teens that were lining up against the residential side of Marlin? There is a entrance on Bay Avenue.
There is a sidewalk on Bay Avenue. If they need to line up,
why can they not
line up on Bay Avenue? Why do they have to butt up against their residences? And they were literally right under the sign that says quiet zone after 10 p.m. So I'm sorry, but the town needs to step in. And the fact that our tax-paying money is going towards the police department should not be
babysitting these kids in a line to get into a club. The supervisor also told me there was just one bouncer or security personnel that was employed by Marlin to control these hundreds of kids, and that's why he had to put
2 cars over there to control the situation. Why can't they charge more, maybe from the kids, and have enough personnel to, if you're going to have a teen night, have enough personnel, security personnel, to do this on your own.
Well, that's your 2 minutes. I just wanted to
remind you and to inform the council again that we have spoken with the detectives in the police department and the chief of police, and they do have a meeting with the owner of this establishment to make some changes. And when I do have an update for you, I will give you that information, okay? Just so you know.
Well, and I can also speak to that. I did speak with the chief today, and we did speak with the owner of the property. He is moving the line to the front of Bay Avenue, and it will be circling around in his own parking lot. So there are some changes made to there, and he is aware that he cannot advertise for a 9:30 opening and not open his doors at that time. So we are working with that on that situation. So thank you for bringing that to this attention. I am aware of it as well. I also live on Center Street and witnessed that as well. So thank you.
Thank you for all your help and cooperation. I appreciate it.
Sure.
I'm not sure how to go about this.
We
All
want
right,
you.
if
We want
don't
you.
think there's any more,
want
local
you.
residents or
We want
taxpayers,
you.
then just go.
We want
This
you.
is James. This is James Nalepa. I'm a taxpayer. I'd like to speak.
Prove it.
Nalepa?
Prove it.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Let me see your tax returns.
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Show me your tax
Okay,
return.
James Nalepa, 608 North Beach Avenue.
I can
in
say the
Beach
same
Haven.
thing. I can make up some.
I just want to, start by saying I understand that you're all in favor of this ordinance, so I appreciate that. Most of my comments will reiterate a lot of what you said. Do want to thank the council and the police chief for all the efforts you've done over the last 2 weekends to help get the town back in order with all the juveniles. In relation to the ordinance, just this past weekend, a female and male teenager, apparently old enough to drive, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, pulled over next to the school, started smoking marijuana. We actually happened to approach them to ask if they were going to be parked there because we wanted somebody else to park there, which is how we smelled it. And they, of course, got nervous and drove away. So the kids are already in Beach Haven smoking marijuana. They're doing this next to the school. They are doing it while driving. And none of this is legal under the current law. Also concerned that the
town is potentially looking to put the financial interests of a few who want to sponsor this type of store over the overall well-being of the residents and homeowners and visitors to Beach Haven. How much tax revenue do we need to continue to bring in? We have enough trouble already, as the last few weekends have shown. To my knowledge, no other tourist shore town has approved this type of business. There's been a comment about only allowing the full-time residents, which I appreciate you allowing any of the taxpayers to speak. If there are only roughly 11 to 1,400 full-time residents, the only way this type of business would be successful is to bring in outsiders to the island or other guests. So this will not be supported just by the local residents. In addition,
That's a lie.
Just because it's legal doesn't mean we need to have it on the island. Casinos, airports, and football stadiums are all legal in New Jersey. We do not have one on Long Beach Island. Thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate all your help.
Thank you.
May I speak?
I'm going to go to the top. Is this Kathy? Kathy Mufakos?
Yes, I did have my hand up, but the other gentleman pretty much said what I was going to say, but I'll take my 2 minutes. My name is Kathy Kufakos. I live at 325 Glendola. I am a permanent resident as well as a taxpayer. I think every taxpayer should have the right to speak, even though I'm a permanent resident. I think everybody who pays taxes should be heard. I my concern, and I really appreciated what the council said. I think you guys are taking this very seriously, and I really appreciate it. I know that the state of New Jersey voted for this. I have no problem with it. I think I'm urging the council to just look at what is the effect on Beach Haven. Okay, what is the effect? What is the cost going to be? What are the risks going to be? What is it going to do to parking? What is it going to do to young people that we have walking around here, that we're still able to have our 10-year-old grandchildren walking around safely? What is it going to do to Beach Haven? I don't think it's a matter of whether cannabis is right or wrong. Certainly they've proved it helps people, some people, and that is fine. But does it belong in Beach Haven? And I think that is the issue to look at. I saw a proposal where two people who want to make money put something together, and it was called a team. I don't think that's a team. I think a team is including the police people, the school people, and people who represent the idea that maybe this is going to have an effect on this town. And that's all I wanted to say. And I appreciate everything you guys are doing, and I thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. All right, Hugh Giordano,
Yes, can you hear me okay now?
go ahead.
Excellent. Hugh Giordano, Blackwood, New Jersey. Council, Mayor, I am here today as a representative of the United Food and Commercial Workers Union, UFCW. The UFCW is a national labor union of 1.3 million hardworking families, and we are the official cannabis labor union, represents cannabis workers from seed to sale, both medical and adult use. I first want to say that I did hear a lot of mixed emotions on the council, and I'm glad that at least the council is talking about cannabis and talking about the pros and the cons. I do want to say a couple things. One, we represent alcohol workers too, such as Bacardi, Jim Beam. And I want to say this: having a legal establishment does not mean more opportunity for children to achieve such a thing. Our workers, our members are trained, and they're not going to risk their living wage, their health care, their sick time, their vacation time, their retirement to give cannabis to an underage person. It would be the same thing as saying when the person delivers to your local bar or liquor store in Beach Haven, does the delivery driver, the alcohol worker, give out cases of Budweiser to the kids? And would they give up their living wage and benefits for that? And the answer is no. No, they would not. It's an attack on working class people to say that having it in the town would give more opportunity because they would get more access. That means that workers would be giving it, which is a fallacy. The other thing I want to say is that these jobs are created with living wages, and they bring a strong middle class. There's been a decrease in population in Beach Haven, and this will give an economic stability. I would like to suggest two things. I can give a tour of the Garden State Dispensary, which is a medical facility, fully vertical in Woodbridge. Please invite the chief of police as well and anybody else. I've given other mayors and councils. And the city of Bayonne, please check out the city of Bayonne ordinance, which lays out a merit-based system. So you can pick and choose what you want. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Edward Grimes,
Yes, can you hear me?
yes.
My name is Edward Lefty Grimes. I'm with sativacross.org. We're a 501c3 here in New Jersey advocating for disabled rights, cannabis patients' rights, disabled vets. I was just in Beach Haven a month ago visiting a disabled vet, and I was shocked at the lack of compassion that your town has for disabled vets. You claim you care about the vets, but you actually don't. My friend is a vet. He lives in Beach Haven. He can't get any cannabis. I came down there, drove 2 hours, and I brought him some cannabis because he could not get any down there. He's had PTSD for years, and now he has cancer on top of all that. Now, what you're doing is absolutely disgusting to our vets. You are disrupting the supply chain of medicine to our troops. Do you realize that? That is a wartime move, what you are doing right now. Disrupting the supply chain of medicine to our troops is something you do in war when you want the other guys to die. That's what you do, and that's what you're doing. You should be ashamed of yourselves. You should take that flag down because you do not support America and you do not support the troops by taking away their medicine. I am disgusted. Even the Taliban has to give our troops medicine, according to the Geneva Convention. So you guys aren't even as good as the Taliban. Be like the Taliban and give our troops the medicine that they need. We're here advocating for medical cannabis. And you can't even get your head around that. How long do you want someone with cancer to wait? My friend has cancer. You want him to wait? How long? Do. How long do people with cancer have to wait for you to get your stuff together? Are you serious? Have you ever seen someone in a wheelchair? Because your wheelchair access is also awful. Your town absolutely is not fair or good for vets. No disabled vet can even get into half of the businesses in your town. Shame on you. Shame on you.
Marina Redmond.
Yes, hi, my name is Marina Redmond, and I'd also like to discuss medical cannabis. Please keep an open mind to it and how much it helps people.
The record, please.
I'm sorry?
State your address for the record.
3 Burrell Square, Parley, New Jersey. I take medical cannabis for PTSD and for cancer. Between the ages of 1 and 4.5, I was in a big New York City hospital where I was subjected to tons of surgeries and medical procedures. This is where my PTSD started because my mother couldn't stay alone. When I was wheeled in to have surgery, I couldn't bring my stuffed animal to hold and hug and to protect me. It was horrible. And then at 4.5, I had my leg amputated. In 2017, I was diagnosed with cancer. It was horrible. I lost 50 pounds within 3 weeks. It wasn't fun. It took me over a month for me to get my medical cannabis card. Pharmaceuticals did not work. No matter what they gave me to keep me from stop vomiting from the chemo, it did not work. It was horrible. You actually have a doctor in your town that prescribes medical cannabis. She's a family practice, Dr. Lisa Friedman. And she has a heart of gold because she's helping people. In the state of New Jersey, you have 65 psychiatrists that prescribe medical cannabis who are helping people with PTSD, helping the vets. You have 10 pediatric doctors that are helping children live that prescribe medical cannabis. You know, a lot of guys will say, oh, you can take an Uber or Lyft. That's more money that the disabled don't have, cancer patients don't have. We also want to go in and go out. If you're going through chemo, it's not fun. Like I said, I got so sick from it. The security, people are worried about the security. It's better there than your local liquor stores and in your banks. And you have to go in, you have to have like all this ID. You have to go through 2 doors in order for you to get your medical cannabis or your recreational. Like I said, I'm just asking for medical cannabis. Please keep an open mind and help people, not hurt them.
Thank you. Tony Madureira.
Hi. My name is Ashley Madureira. I'm speaking on behalf of both my parents. We have been summer residents here for the last 45 years. And I just want to discuss 2 things.
Can you state your address, please?
5 Ocean Street, Beach Haven.
Okay.
First thing I want to ask about is the beach access. After Sandy, when they redid the dunes, they made them much higher, and I understand the thought process behind it to protect the homes. However, for our elderly and disabled residents, it makes going to the beach almost impossible. And I've asked in the past why we can't get rubber mats that other townships have that roll out along the walkway to make it easier, because when the rains come and the way they just hard pack the sand, when a heavy rain comes, it makes a big ravine down a very narrow path, which is very steep, which makes it even more difficult to pass. And I feel that our residents who have been here for a long time are being excluded from being able to access the areas of Beach Haven that they pay taxes to be able to access. Now, other townships have a golf cart or some kind of cart that brings people to the beach with their things. All we offer in Beach Haven is a wheelchair, the beach wheelchairs, which are very hard. And if you're living on a street like my street, where the access to the beach is very narrow, it's almost impossible to get one of those on there. And it's very difficult for somebody to have to carry that thing up and down a huge dune. So I'm asking, and I called the beach badge office, and they stated that they're getting calls like this for this type of access quite frequently. And I don't understand why, one, nobody even responded to me about the rubber mats. They just disregarded my email. And two, even more than the rubber mats, which are almost, again, if you have trouble walking, then you can't get onto the beach, even with a rubber mat. We should have some type of service for our residents to be able to get onto the beach.
Thank you, just to clarify, we do have the rubber ADA access mats at the 3 ADA access points at Center, Pearl, and Fifth.
Yes.
And there are discussions about a gator program. But for now, we do have the ADA access. Go ahead.
Don't we also, I've heard that the lifeguards are 54. I've heard that the lifeguards, if you call, will get somebody down on the beach and pick them up and get them to the beach end, not to their house. But if they're at the street end and they call, they'll get them and they'll drive them onto the beach. And then when they're ready to leave, they'll take them back to the road.
Right now, recently, one of the gators that the beach patrol uses has been in the shop. So they've only had one. So they haven't been implementing that program as much so far this summer. Hopefully, we can start to do that again. And it's unfortunate. I think if we're thinking about expanding this program, we should hire someone to do it specifically, because it seems that patrollers are sometimes then taken advantage of, and they want them to carry their cooler and carry their umbrellas and carry all their stuff and set them up for them, and it gets a little overwhelming when they have first aid calls and things like that.
Well, I can understand that.
Carrie Porter.
I actually think, this is Carrie, I actually think my sister was using my link. So her name is Beth Muller. I know she was going to speak. I'm a resident. I own 2 homes and my parents own a home. So we just have some concerns.
Address?
So who's speaking, Beth or Carrie?
Hello, this is Beth.
Beth, are you trying to make a public comment?
Yes, I'd like
State
to.
Your name and address for the record.
Sure. My name is Beth Muller. My parents are Edmund and Judith Haggerty. They live at 312 Pelham. And I first want to thank the Beach Haven Rescue Squad for transporting my father to Southern Ocean County Hospital on Monday. A couple of things I want to say towards the cannabis dispensary is our concerns are certainly a traffic issue. Just to let you know, it took me, I left the same time the ambulance left to transport my father, and it took me 2 hours and 15 minutes to get from Beach Haven to Soch. So the traffic was just truly amazing. And then of course you think, well, it was a holiday technically. Well, I went Saturday back to Soch, and it took me 1 hour and 15 minutes to get to the hospital. So the amount of traffic is truly unbelievable. And we're not saying that there's not a place for a dispensary. We certainly have compassion for anyone who uses medical marijuana. But I think having it in a vacation town doesn't make a lot of sense when it comes to traffic, when it comes to the stores in the area, the shopping, the family community here. So we appreciate you seriously considering the homeowner's feelings when deciding on what you're planning on doing. And again, like we said, it's not something that we don't have compassion for everyone, but I think in certain cases, there are ways around it to get medical marijuana sent to you if you have a prescription for it. So as far as the dispensary in this area, we really want you to think long and hard about making that decision. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben. Jennifer Jamie?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Jennifer Jamie, 4th Street, Cedar Bonnet Island. I know that I'm not a Beach Haven resident. There are a lot of people that have come to this meeting tonight. I'm shocked. I'm not, though. I just wanted to say thank you for taking the time to do your own homework and really do the research into it. I understand that there are other people in town. I was looking to open simply a delivery service where there would be no foot traffic. I'm just repeating things that I've said because there are many people here that were not at previous meetings. With a delivery service, there would be no foot traffic in town. It would just be a discrete building. And I know that you're going to say no. I knew you were going to say no. I grew up in Surf City. I've lived here my whole life. Even entertaining the idea this long is amazing to me. And I just wanted to say thank you. And also to the little girls with this skate park, I'm totally on your side. I love the idea. I think it's great that they came to speak at the meeting, and I applaud them at that age for advocating for something that they want. And like I said, I just wanted to thank you again for taking the time to do your own research and really look into it. I will pursue it in other towns, but I hope that you will continue to stay open, and maybe one day when it becomes more normal, I would be able to open a Class 6 just delivery service somewhere closer to home. The other group in town is looking to open a dispensary, a storefront. That is not what I was into, and I would never want something like that in this town, because I agree with everyone that that would bring a ton of people that we don't need here. I mean, we already have a lot of people and a lot of traffic. So thank you for your time, and yes to Escape Park.
Thank you.
William Casey? Mr. Casey, you can star 6 if you're on a regular phone to unmute yourself. There you go.
How about now? How about now?
Yes, state your name and address for the record.
My name is William Casey. I live at 314 Berkeley Avenue in Beach Haven. And I just wanted to say real briefly, I sent each of you an email about an hour ago, just when I first went to my mailbox today and got notified about this meeting. I felt I just needed to bring to your attention and to the people in the room's attention, if any of you have seen what has happened to Venice Beach, California, that is a direct result of opening cannabis shops along the boardwalk in Venice Beach, California. Venice Beach 10 to 15 years ago was one of the most beautiful places in the United States, and cannabis has ruined it. Cannabis has brought in more illegal drugs, more mentally unstable people, more just litter, and you can imagine what else. So bringing it into a beachfront community like Beach Haven scares the living daylights out of me. And I'm happy to hear that all of you seem to have done a lot of homework on this and are thinking the same way I am as a resident. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. That's all I have on Zoom. Oh, I'm sorry. One more. Colleen McNally.
Hi, everyone. How are you?
State your name and address for the record, Colleen.
My name is Colleen McNally, and I live at 326 Delaware, or 3rd Street, sorry.
Okay.
I just wanted to speak a little bit, I guess, more in, not necessarily in favor or out of favor, but for those who have the opinions of such of the type of person that cannabis would bring to this town. I live on 3rd Street, which is on this, like, very close to Bird and Betty's and all this other stuff. And we all know that alcohol is legal in our town. But I have had bikes stolen late at night. I wake up to red Solo cups and White Claw things, trash, etc., into my own yard. Late at night, there's people walking around our neighborhood with cursing and all this other stuff. So I just don't want the stigma of this is what cannabis people are. There are people who drink alcohol and things like that as well that act just the same. So I would be in favor of having cannabis in our town. I think that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Bye.
Any other member of the public on Zoom wish to be heard? Dinah Hayes?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Dina Hayes, 605 North Atlantic. I just did want to speak about the potential for a dispensary and to say that I am opposed to that strongly. And I'll just quickly share an experience that I had. I just returned from Boston last week. Next door to our hotel, there was a storefront. I didn't know what it was, but there was a large group of young people out front. So I assumed it was a bar. When I returned from dinner, there were droves of young people out front, very loud music, people sitting on the sidewalk, laying on the sidewalk in front of our hotel. So I just thought they had a little too much to drink and that it was a very popular bar. But the amount of young people out there, it was extraordinary. So the next day I found out that it was a cannabis dispensary. The people were not well behaved. I'm not saying that anybody, using cannabis is that way, but it did draw a large amount of people who were a little out of control. I know we're already having problems with young people in this area, and I think that would just add fuel to the fire. I do sympathize for those who need medical marijuana, and I do know there are other ways to get it.
Really,
I
how?
don't believe a dispensary is in Beach Haven's best interest. Thank you.
How far do you roll yourself in a wheelchair, lady? How far would you go in a wheelchair?
Michael? Sorry.
I'm here. I'm trying to get the video on. Oh, there I am. Okay. I've taken a lot of notes of this meeting. My time is going to be short as a resident of Beach Haven. To start off with, I object to you lowering the limit from 3 minutes to 2 minutes. People got something to say, let them say it. Right off the top here, the maintenance of invasive species. I had a note here. We ought to allow front yard gardens. And it's something you should think about. I'm sure nobody has thought about it. We have these lawns we spend thousands of dollars on, yet we don't step on them. We don't do anything on them. Let's plant a garden on them. Let's have a front yard farm. Okay. Now I'm going down. Chief Markowski. I think a problem in town that we need to become known for is that we are a no nonsense town. Okay? That's people, children not wearing helmets, riding bicycles on the sidewalk, littering, cigarette littering. This week, I was only down for a couple of days. Last week, picked up over 100 cigarettes. In the 20 plus years I've been there, I've personally picked up thousands of cigarettes. A $250 fine. You can't take 2 minutes to watch some idiot smoking that crap and then give them a ticket. Okay, that's it. Across the street, I know somebody mentioned strollers in the street. The chicken and the egg is really there's the 2 minutes. At this point, I'll let Loretta speak. The chicken and the egg is abusing the privilege of outside dining. I got videos and pictures I can send if you want. I seen a caravan of strollers and parents pushing them in the roadway because of the umbrellas on the sidewalk and the double tables opposed to one table. You couldn't walk. I thought I should go see it. I did. I took pictures. That's a problem. Let's have some respect for the ordinance. I read some of the emails. Nancy Davis, which I love you, Nancy. You said delivery service is fine for the cannabis, and that's good, but I don't want to continue to promote Amazon-like businesses. We need small business support.
Gotta wrap it up, Michael.
I am Ed Grimes with the troops. He sure is right. These people, we just had a war that's been never ending for 20 years coming to an end. Our men, our women need this. And the people that are nearing the end of their lives need this. The skateboard park I have supported for decades. Access to the beach, I don't even want to go there. We need to really reach out to our disabled population, and because all of you at some point are going to be there. And if I'm around at some point, I'll help you.
Thank you, Michael. Any other member of the public who should be heard?
No? Seeing none, we will close the meeting to public comment, and we'll now go to final remarks by council.
That's it
And
for
I think it's Mrs. Rutherford, we're starting.
They're
at
going to talk
the
some more.
back end of the-
Never mind.
I just want to thank each and every one of you for emailing this week, this month, coming to speak about cannabis, coming to speak this evening, preparing your statements for what you're going to have probably for next meeting. So thank you for taking your time to invest into what's going on in your community as well. I want you to know that I've heard each one of them. I am listening to your voice, and your voice has been heard here in town. I know that's something that I really want to encourage. In regard to this past weekend, I actually had the privilege to stay up that late, which is late for me, and go down and check out what was going on down at Bayview Park or Butler Park. It was great to see the police and the teens interacting, and it went really well. And the buses were great. I think that's a great start to get us moving. As it relates to last Thursday's meeting, I had made a statement that I'd like to restart the Neighborhood Watch program. Please be, so there's of you who are interested in that, you're welcome to send me a message. But we're also going to be looking for information coming out to talk about that. So there'll be an opportunity. We're looking at Fridays at 6 p.m. to meet with the police here at Borough Hall to just kind of go over what's going on in town, see what you're seeing, and that they can address some of those situations over the weekend and reconvene the following week. So I will be a part of that. So just wanted to thank you all again for coming and spending your time this evening.
Thank you. Dr. Davis?
I really don't have much to say. I think I've said enough. I support the skateboard park, and let's get that moving.
Yeah.
That sounds like something we can actually do. That's all. Have a nice time.
Thank you.
Skateboard park, and let's get that moving.
Yeah.
That sounds like something we can actually do.
So IBW, carpenter,
That's all.
steam fitter, That's in the actual bill, S21. So seed to sale, UFCW, and shovel and retrofit is the building trade. So it's a union job through and through, and it gives working class people an opportunity. And
Thank you. So I think there may be some misunderstandings. So if the city council doesn't pass an ordinance, then thank you. So I think there may be some misunderstandings this year. So if the city council doesn't pass, surrender our right, then thank you. So I think there may be some misunderstandings this year. So if the city council doesn't pass, surrender our right, then thank you. So I think there may be some misunderstandings this year. So if the city council
what's going on here?
surrender our right, then thank you. So I think there may be some misunderstandings this year. So if the city council
what's going on here?
surrender our right, then thank you. So I think there may be some misunderstandings this year. So if the city council
what's going on here?
surrender our right, then thank you. So I think there may be some misunderstandings this year. The city council doesn't surrender.
What the heck was that? I don't know what that was, but that was really crazy. Let me try to get into this meeting because I heard there was public comment. I didn't know he was speaking.
Recording in progress.
We need to move forward with this. We only have this meeting this week, voting on Wednesday, and one in August. Next hand up is Jeff King. Mr. King?
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Mayor and Council. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak. Jeff King, 24 Elizabeth Parkway, Eatontown. I'd also like to address the issue of cannabis. Everything Mr. Giordano said, I think was very wise and worth pursuing. The tour sounds like a wonderful idea, so that when you do go ahead and look at the master plan and evaluate how you could do a zoning ordinance that would be consistent with the goals of the master plan. It'd be great to have the knowledge of exactly how these facilities operate. Certainly, it's a benefit to the community. It's an asset to have a business that would have such good skilled workers making money and providing a service that is very important. Not so much for social use and adult use, but the medical use. The patients really depend on this for easing pain and suffering. And right now it's kind of scarce in central New Jersey to be able to find affordable and available cannabis of the strain that you need. So that's part of why patients are begging for home growing rights. It's very sad that we voted so affirmatively for it. And Governor Murphy didn't have the nerve to give his blessing to home growing. So I don't understand why Craig Carton and Steve Sweeney, the leadership, has all failed on that. So please, if you're friendly with them or if you have any pull, please put a word out there for that while you do the municipal ban to decide how to zone. Think about the patients. Think about the people that really, really would benefit the most. But yeah, there's a lot of upside to this. So I'm glad to hear. I kind of figured that you were smart enough to know that it was a benefit to the community and that you were going to move forward with it. I'm a little disappointed you weren't proactive in looking at the zoning and trying to figure something out before now. But I appreciate that you are looking to avail yourselves of this opportunity and not let it slip away. Thank you.
Sure. Next hand up is R.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I just want to discuss medical marijuana and what it's done for me in my journey. I suffer.
We just need your name and address first.
I'm sorry, Marina Redmond, 3 Burrell Square, Parley, New Jersey. And I'm with Sativa Cross. My medical journey with medical cannabis and how much it's helped me. Between the ages of 1 and 4.5, I was diagnosed with a birth defect. I had to have a ton of surgeries on my left leg. Back then, they did things totally differently. Your parents had to keep you in the hospital by yourself. They weren't allowed to stay over. And I'm like 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm seeing my mother walk away from me, which was probably even harder for her to see, having her to walk away from, me. It was such a horrible thing. Going into surgery was also really, really bad because your parents weren't allowed to walk you in like now. I wasn't allowed to take my stuffed animal. It was actually grabbed from me from several times because I wanted that stuffed animal to protect me. Then unfortunately in 2017, I was diagnosed with cancer. I lost 50 pounds within 3 weeks. None of the pharmaceutical medicines that they gave me worked. It was horrible. In the state of New Jersey, you have 65 psychiatry doctors. You also have 10 pediatric doctors that prescribe medical cannabis. You have 2 doctors in your town that prescribe medical cannabis, internal medicine, and an emergency medical doctor, which is all wonderful. If these doctors are prescribing this in your town, just really consider even have a small little dispensary so that people can get their medicine. Uber and Link cost the disabled money that we don't have. And sometimes you can't sit in the car for 45 minutes, especially if you're going through cancer treatment. Just really consider a medical marijuana dispensary. Thank you.
Sure. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but really the state of New Jersey isn't permitting us to do medical marijuana. This is just recreational, correct?
What the ordinance before you is dealing with recreational. You're right. The medical is governed by the state, and it's if somebody wanted to locate here, they would make
an application to the state
basically
of New Jersey.
An expression of interest. You would say, we would be interested, and then the state will determine whether to grant.
So regardless of what this ordinance might say, we don't have a right to open up a medical marijuana facility here. It's really only speaking to the recreational component of the legislation. And I for anyone who out there or here needs to understand that as well. Okay. The next person on Zoom is Jamie, satavillcross.org.
That's pretty good.
Probably messing that up, but okay.
Good evening, Jamie Van Skyver, and yes, with sativacross.org. We're a 501c3 nonprofit advocating for medical cannabis patients' rights and accessibility for people with disabilities. I personally am a medical patient. People need access to this. People are dealing with chronic illness and chronic pain, and these are things and conditions that are never going away. I think we can all understand when people get on the path of pharmaceuticals, especially for pain relief with chronic illness, they're going to build tolerances and they're going to need more and more. And it's really just so ravaging to people. It's helping a lot of things. Depression. We have 22 veterans a day killing themselves. And a lot of them seek treatment for depression, and they're prescribed SSRIs. And unfortunately, they can give you more desire to actually go through with committing suicide. We need to give people access to something else. Recreational wise, more than half of Perth Amboy constituents voted to have recreational legalization. And I'm familiar with the area. There's a lot of bars, there's a lot of liquor stores, and I don't understand hypocrisy. It's like stigmatizing a natural plant, but there's so many pharmacies in your community with the things that you're using Narcan for, opioids, fentanyl. These are the things that people are overdosing on. This is a legal substance that people in your community more than half voted for. And I think that you should educate yourselves and take up opportunities that you have access to gain more knowledge and understanding, and be open to what your community wants and legally should have access to without being stigmatized, something natural. We have endocannabinoid systems in our body that work with that plant. I know your Narcan count's going up. That's not from cannabis, not one single one of them. Could be alcohol as well. That's contributing to Narcan going up and combinations of alcohol and pharmaceuticals, never cannabis. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Lefty Grimes is next.
Good evening, Council. This is Edward Lefty Grimes. I am with sativacross.org. Also, we're a 501c3 advocating for disabled rights, cannabis patients' rights, and disabled vets. And I'd ask you to spend a day in a wheelchair, because that's what a lot of cannabis patients are, in wheelchairs. And when you're in that wheelchair, not an electric one either, one with you have to push around and, figure out how far you can go to get your medicine. How far would you push yourself to get your medicine? And if you had cancer or MS or something horrible, how that would feel on top of all that. Disabled people just want to take part. They don't want a delivery service. First of all, we can't afford a delivery service. We're getting hit from all sides here. We're getting a 2% tax from the towns that are taking this. We're getting a 7% tax from the state. We're getting moldy medicine from these big, huge corporations, these billionaires that come into our state, these huge international operations come into our state and build an industry on the backs of the sick and the dying. We need to build up the working class people, the working class cannabis community. Wouldn't you like to have gone to school with someone who owns a dispensary rather than somebody in another country? If you do allow dispensaries and do allow this, you should have an ordinance or a rule that they have to live in the county, at least. And you can have a small mom and pop store. We don't want the Walmarts of weed. We don't. They don't care about the patients. They don't care about the vets. You got 22 vets a day trying to kill themselves. What are we doing for them? They're banning medicine all over the state. My friend's in Beach Haven. They banned the medicine in Beach Haven tonight for him. He has to drive an hour. And I literally gave it to them today because these are vets. You wouldn't even have a council if it wasn't for vets. And we need to take care of them. I mean, you're disrupting the supply chain of medicine to the troops. That's what's happening. That's a wartime move. And I asked these towns, who are you at war with? I'm not saying you guys are at war. You might actually do the right thing here because you seem to be talking about that. A lot of towns are not doing that. They're looking to ban it for good. They don't want it in their town. They're thinking that people with squeegees are going to be coming there. People with crime. Black and brown people are going to come to their town. That's what they're afraid of down the shore. And I asked for wheelchair access. I asked for representation for that taxation. And I asked you to take that wheelchair tax. Yeah, it's a wheelchair tax. Let's face it. It's a cancer tax. There's no other medicine tax. They're not taxing your heart medicine. They're not taxing your insulin, but they're taxing our medicine. God's medicine is stigmatized and taxed. And I ask you, if you take that tax, to please give us wheelchair access throughout Perth Amboy. Perth Amboy has a lot of places without wheelchair access. And I would ask that you check the schools, too, because a lot of schools may have just one entrance for the wheelchair access. And that creates a potential fire hazard for a student or somebody who's on a side of that building where there's stairs. I was recently in a high school that only had one entrance. In the back. Second-class citizens go in the back in the wheelchairs. So I went in the back with my wheelchair, and I realized at the podium I was a fire hazard because who's going to carry me at the front steps now? We need to put the last first. Consider the sick and the dying first, and then we'll be okay. Because 68% of Jesus' miracles were for the disabled. So I think if we focus on the disabled and have compassion for the sick and the dying, I think everything will be okay. All these other things will fall into place. The home grow that we need, because we can't afford this medicine. Right now, people in wheelchairs are at the back of the line. When they get to the front of that line, they're at the dispensary. They're out of the strains that they need. They're out of the amounts that they need, and we can't afford it. We want to grow our own weed too. But no, they won't give us that. They're letting these corporations make their money first for a couple of years off the backs of us, the sick and the dying. And we're not going to have it. We're going to speak out about it. We're disgusted. We want working class people to own dispensaries. We want mom and pop stores. We want women and minority owned dispensaries. That's what we need in New Jersey. We don't need another corporation. And I got to tell you, I'm surprised we got as far as we did in this big pharma state that we live in. I live right over here by Novartis. I mean, I don't know how we got as far as we did because of all the opposition, a lot of money fighting this. But compassion prevailed, I think, in a lot of ways with this medical cannabis law. So,
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Call in user 1. Go ahead.
Hi, good evening. This is Sharon Huberman, 529 Cornell Street. Calling in because I was pleasantly surprised by when they added the provision to change the Board of Education election back to April, because essentially what it does enable the public to vote on the budget, which has been stripped away from the public. And we're talking a budget of about $180 million, which I strongly believe it's more democratic to be able to situate the election so that the public can vote on how the budget is to unravel and really dedicate the funds to the betterment of quality education. What has happened is in the Board of Education being in November, it's been strongly politicized with the presidential, the senatorial, and all of these other elections being held in November. And therefore, the Board of Education candidates, they fall to the side. If you even look at the ballot, sometimes it's even hard to find the candidates running for the Board of Education. So I hope that rather than tabling this, it should be the will of the people, not so much whether the elected officials want to change it or not, because if I recall correctly, it is the council who made the change in the first place of changing the Board of Ed elections to quote unquote save taxpayer funds. But what about the jobs that could possibly be created for our community through poll clerks who want to work at and serving those elections? So before any decisions is made, I thought it was a very good start to open the discussion regarding that matter. And then in terms of changing our plan under the optional municipal charters plan, where we would go from a nonpartisan plan to a partisan, I would really like for the attorney to revisit that, because under the original commission, the commission had to choose from 14 plans. Of those 14 plans, the commission had to weigh in from the public as to what would be fair and equitable. And at that time, that plan included nonpartisan elections. So if your intent is to make any changes going from nonpartisan to partisan, there's only two ways to do that. Number one is either a commission is elected of 5 to be able to do that, or a petition from the people would need to be submitted in order for there to be a referendum added to make a change to the existing charter to amend the current plan. So, we're looking at a lot of things here. Is it constitutional to go from a nonpartisan to a partisan plan, knowing in fact that the Democrat registration outweighs the registered Republican registrations? Is that equal protection under the 14th Amendment? Is it constitutional? I don't know. But if you just arbitrarily submit an ordinance to say, oh, well, we're going to change it from nonpartisan to partisan, then is that really the will of the people? So I strongly advise there to be a much thorough research, not only by the attorney, by each of you who are elected officials. Do your own research. It's very accessible under the optional municipal charter law, the Faulkner Act. It's there. There's 14 plans. And when ours was chosen, it included the nonpartisan, it included the recommendation of 5 council members, it included the strong mayor, weak council, and it also included a runoff, which got put back in. What it also is interesting is that we also changed the May election under that plan to November.
And then we ended up having a runoff so close to when the newly elected mayor.
We need to go into office. So there's a lot that is going on here, but I think if there's something that can be done the board elections back to April so that the people are able to have a more transparent outlook as to what the budget is, and that we focus on everybody. Come on. From what we've been seeing with these massive tickets that combine both. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. iPad 96.
iPad 96.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi. Good
Hi.
evening.
Hello.
This is Maria Vera.
How are
81
you?
Madison Avenue.
I think you have two things going at once.
Two.
with this
Thing.
feedback. You have two-
Okay.
Cough.
There we go. Good evening. This is Maria Vera, 81 Madison Avenue. There was an incident happened yesterday down my street in the evening. There were like over 20 bikes. There were scooters, motorbikes, dirt bikes. I like to know, and I'm going to ask all of you council members, is there an ordinance on these bikes riding in the middle of the street, going through stop signs and stopping traffic?
You're talking about motorized vehicles? Or you're talking
Yes,
about bicycles?
because isn't there a law that any motorized bike as scooters are supposed to have license and they need to be over 16 years old? Do we have any law on ordinance in our town with these bikes, with these electric scooter bikes?
So I'm going to let you finish your what you want to say, and then I'll ask the police chief to come up and make a comment. Okay?
Thank you.
Are you done?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Council President,
What the call is referring to is motorized vehicles, so that'd be under Title 39 state law. We do have municipal ordinances and so forth, but this specifically, because it's motorized, would be under the state Title 39 law, which does require helmets, does require headlights, and
Licensing?
Licensing, of course, yes, and obeying all local.
And that
stop signs.
includes electric bikes?
Electric is a little bit different, depending whether it's pedal bikes, whether they have pedals, they don't have pedals, whether they are self-balancing. There's a lot of different things that have to do with on the electric side of things. Many of them go more towards bicycles. If they have pedals on them, even though you don't use the pedals, they use the electric part of it. If it's primarily a bicycle, then it would fall under the bicycle ordinance more locally. However, they still need to maintain and do all of the Title 39 or the state traffic laws. They would still have to maintain that.
So basically, what the caller was suggesting was there was a mass of bicycles, a mix of bicycles and motorbikes on the street, I guess, filling the street. Was that right, Maria?
Yeah, that was yesterday about 8:20 p.m. because I have it on my camera. And I did send it to some of you guys so you can see what I'm talking about, so I don't make up these stories.
Oh my God, bicycles in the street.
We had tons of bikes, like a parade. And they just ran through every stop sign holding up traffic, and they went all the way down to the waterfront.
They're stopping cars.
They also ride these bikes, and they're not just bikes. They're dirt bikes, they're scooters, electric bikes, and then they ride them down the waterfront where people walk, breezing down the waterfront. And they're riding, taking over the sidewalks, and I find that very disrespectful.
Wait till you see me in the wheelchair.
That's why I'm asking.
I'll take up the whole road.
Is there an ordinance on these people. They don't have helmets, or they're supposed to have plates.
So the
Okay.
chief just said there's Title 39, which is a state law that would be covered by this, as well
not
as
listening.
municipal ordinances. But I guess somebody'd have to notify the police that this is happening.
Yeah, they were in the middle of the street. They went through the stop sign. There were like over 20 bikes.
Okay.
So I like to know, there's an ordinance that they're not allowed to be riding in this type of behavior, or maybe the city needs to put a bicycle trail so
Arrest 'em.
everybody can be in one line
Arrest
and,
'em
you know,
all.
obey the rules and laws in this town, because it seems that these kids are really taking advantage.
They're riding a bike.
Okay, thank you.
Get them.
You're welcome.
Go ahead. Go ahead,
One
Chief.
of the things, Council President, it's, as I mentioned, if they're electric and so forth and they fall under that bicycle, then they fall less under 39 and fall more under the ordinance which you just recently passed, as far as what we're able to do with them. It is a new phenomena. It's happening in many municipalities, especially New York City and so forth, with these motorized bicycles. They meet up and they go and do these things, or the dirt bikes, as the caller was explaining. That is something that's happening. It's not only happening here. As our officers try to move in, they obviously hop on the sidewalks, they take off. Where you're not going to be able to chase them. It's not legal for us to chase them under the Attorney General's guidelines. And it's also not safe.
Right.
So we attempt to get them when we can, when they stop at a red light or wherever they may be. And we have different initiatives out there. There's probably been, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but probably a half a dozen that we've, at least in the last month or so, that we've been able to identify that were not registered, not licensed, and they were towed under Title 39, being dirt bikes.
Oh,
As you know, of course, with the bicycle now, that we are limited to what we're able to do with the bicycles or the electric bicycles with the city ordinance.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
May I say something?
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
saw those riders around the same time last night. They were on Front Street. There were over 20 of them. These were dirt bikes, gas scooters, and other motor vehicles.
Oh,
These were not
motorcycles.
bicycles. These were not children. They were burning rubber.
Oh, never
They
mind.
were causing
Get them.
mass disturbance
Get 'em.
around the whole waterfront area. They
yeah,
were
get 'em.
riding up and down. These were not kids on bicycles.
Okay.
These were adults on motorbikes.
Get 'em.
Just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you.
Right,
That
children
makes a
are not
difference.
harassed because.
Yeah, don't
of
harass children on
bad behavior of
bicycles.
Adults in our community.
Right. Okay.
It was unclear from what the caller was saying, sir.
Thank you.
You
Cleared it up for me.
Yeah, but they were also driving around the waterfront for over a half an hour, and it was quite loud. They were burning rubber. You could hear them for blocks away, and it'd be good if we had some presence around there. Maybe they wouldn't be just taking over the community.
They actually look for police officers to bait them, to try to have us chase them and so forth. So they look for us to specifically do that on a regular basis. They do that.
To chase them, yeah, because you're not going to catch them. Right.
Right.
Okay.
And it's not safe. We just wouldn't do that.
Right.
I'll check the CAD records to see if there were any calls that were received for it during those times and so forth. And of course, the officers know what they can do and what their abilities are.
Their limits are.
But the behavior and the activities of these adults on these motorbikes far outseeds the danger of children on bicycles in our community.
Okay.
We should be looking of how we can make it safer for children to be riding, if they need to share the roads
Yes.
with these adults who are
Yes,
just riding with the
that's true. Protect the children.
Councilman, did they, if I could just ask, did
Let
they have
them ride
helmets on
bikes.
for the most part, or
Some did, some did not.
some did not? Okay.
So
Okay.
Looks like most of a lot of schools.
I like kids riding bikes
Little
instead of
mini
playing
bikes.
video
You
games.
got the video.
Yeah, it's
Did you
it's
email it to
dirt
us?
bikes, yeah, it's dirt bikes, scooters, some are wearing helmets, some are not. But I agree with you, Chief.
No licenses, probably.
I'm gonna think that what they do is that, of course, if there's no police, there's no cars coming, they're taking the whole street. But if there's cars coming, what then they do is that they move in here and do their thing. But if they see the cops, yeah. But yeah, they're taking the whole road here in the intersection that she's talking about. They take the entire street going down towards the water.
And just so you understand, they also, it's based on CCs also, when they're gas powered. If they're 49 CCs or below 50 CCs, then they don't necessarily fall under the motor vehicle laws either. So they're kind of in the middle as to what they are. They still can't be on a roadway if they're that way, and they can't be driving like you're saying they're doing and so forth. They can't do that, but that's also
They can't?
So what do they fall under if they're below a certain CC?
pedals, no pedals. It all depends on what it is, what they're being used for, whether they're being off-road bikes because they can't be registered.
So
At that
like
point,
the
it's
old little bikes that
bikes.
were made out of lawnmower engines.
right, mini bikes they used to be referred
Yeah.
to and so forth. Yes, they would be under 49 cc's at that point, so they're unlicensed, but they also cannot be operated on the roadway. They can be
Oh.
operated on
But how would you summons a person with something like that on the road?
Oh, I'm sorry.
So if you were actually able to catch somebody driving one of those on the road, what would you do?
They would be confiscated as not
Oh.
being able to operate on the road if they were operating, because it'd be an unlicensed, unregistered vehicle at that point, because it's still a motor vehicle, but it's not there. So.
All right. Yep. Okay. So, Miss Pazicki Torres.
Hello, thank you. Carolyn Pazicki Torres, 264 Water Street. The city of Perth Amboy was on the front page of the Home News Tribune today. And the article was Perth Amboy ready to say no to all marijuana businesses. And it said that under the ordinance, all classes of cannabis establishments, distributors, delivery services, testing facilities, medical dispensaries, clinical registrants, or any alternative treatment centers deemed to hold a medical cannabis dispensary permit pursuant are expressly prohibited from operating anywhere in the city of Perth Amboy except for the delivery of cannabis items and related supplies by a delivery service. You said you're not acting to try to prohibit medical from Perth Amboy, that it's not your jurisdiction anyway to do so. So
Right.
could you remove from the ordinance any mention of medical dispensaries and their prohibition in Perth Amboy, please?
So, go ahead, I'm gonna let the attorney.
Yeah, I don't recall that being in there, but I'm sure you're reading it correctly. I'll review with, one of my partners has been leading our office on this issue. Let me check with her, but that sounds reasonable to me. It's a state decision. I don't think you have any
I think
jurisdiction
it
on
would
medical
be,
anyway.
it would be nullified anyway because we don't have jurisdiction over that area.
Yes, they do.
Unfortunately, if we change the ordinance now, and then it has to come back. No, you're telling me no? What?
It's not published for Wednesday anyway. You can't act on Wednesday
I understand
to
that.
adopt it. So
No, but
if-
it is a first reading, right?
Wednesday
This is
would
our
be the first reading, so you can
Okay.
change it for a first reading. You just
Okay.
can't change it on
All
the
right.
hearing. Yeah.
I just don't want us to be going back and forth and
No,
run
I
out of
understand.
time.
That's
and then-
why I
and then
suggested we
we're
could change
just-
it. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. If it's
I mean, you
changeable,
told people
we'll do
tonight
it.
that Perth Amboy is not attempting to ban medical. There
No,
were
we
like
have no
5
juris-
callers who called in about it.
Mhm,
You
we have
know,
no
I want it
jurisdiction
clarified
over that.
because it's on the front page of the Home News Tribune saying that Perth Amboy is attempting to ban medical. Now, if you're saying that, if the way that a medical dispensary is going to land in Perth Amboy is whether or not they solicit us to come here, and there's press that has gone out and is now all over the internet that says Perth Amboy has acted to ban it here. I mean, to me, that's really doing harm to our community and making sure we do get a medical dispensary as soon as possible.
Okay.
So which is it? Is it in this ordinance that you have written now that is published that we are attempting to ban medical marijuana here?
No, it's not published. That's the point. I'm not aware of that language. I will review. This is the township attorney.
Oh, I mean, you know what? I'm
city
so
attorney.
sorry. I guess I just mean it's published in the newspaper that's what the ordinance says. So is there a copy of the ordinance? I mean, that you could read for us right now that says what the city is doing?
She just handed it to him.
I will attempt to go through it. It's a lengthy ordinance. That's the only
She
only
just
issue. I
handed
didn't
it
want
to
be
him.
jumping right into it because we can fix it on Wednesday.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm sure you.
Whoever that is, the clock lady,
You're
the
not
lady
reading
who
from
has-
the audience. You're reading from a newspaper article.
Yeah,
I'll try to
forward,
read it.
you know?
I'll try to read it now.
Read it now.
Well, I mean, also, the other cities that have proposed their ordinances were available online for everyone to read. And it doesn't seem like ours is the proposed ordinance.
should
This-
be.
This digested, thing that says marijuana prohibition.
It should be on the city website under today's meeting, under the agenda with the backup material. It should be there.
All right, I'm looking. Well, anyway, hearing the other callers, I thought that what they had to say was very compelling about jobs, and everything that was said at the marijuana forum. Definitely, I thought our city would be going at least to one license per item. Given the multiple ordinances that exist in our county of other urban areas that are moving on this, it really doesn't make sense that we're not. We could be following what they're doing. We could allow, similar ordinances to pass. We're not going to invent something new. Why is New Brunswick capable of getting something moving and not Perth Amboy? We're a city, that can do this too. It just, where at the last meeting, I requested there be a timeline for the public, since you're calling this a placeholder. What is the expected timeline that you will begin to pursue any of the information that you need to make the informed decisions about cannabis here?
She's right.
Can the council provide me with a timeline response, please?
It's here. She's right. It's here.
I think that's
Oh
going to be.
my
a
God!
little
Here, I'll
difficult
screenshot it
because
to.
We don't know how far the conversation is going to go.
It sounds unstructured though when you say that. It sounds like every single time you talk about it, that it's so complicated that we can't possibly have any plan. And I don't believe that is what planning is.
Okay.
What's the next step, please? What's the next step?
So the next step would be to revisit.
You're going to visit a dispensary such as was suggested tonight?
We're going to finish passing this ordinance once the attorney reviews it again to see that medical marijuana is not listed.
It sure is.
Listed.
It's listed.
It was very.
It's all over.
I'm checking with my
Your law
partner now.
firm was very efficient in listing absolutely everything in great detail.
Oh yeah. You made sure you listed it a few times.
It says I read the whole thing a while ago, but you should have a copy of
Page
that
2
right now.
It's in there.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's in there a lot.
So is this considered or would be considered a substantial change?
If it were on for final adoption tonight, yes, I would say it's a substantial change.
Okay.
Actually, I'd have to think about it because it's
reading.
Because you're not. This is still as if this is an introduced ordinance. This is not an introduced ordinance until Wednesday night.
Okay.
So that's my point is we can make that change. I think the point you made earlier that it would be ultra vires anyway, because this is dealing with recreational cannabis, not medical.
Correct.
Doesn't make a difference. But I certainly understand the speaker's concern is that let's be clear, especially considering we can make the change now without any injury to what we're
Great
trying to
job,
do.
activists. Great job catching
Thank
that.
you for bringing that to our attention.
Huge.
Anytime. Bye.
Sure. Check your email. Okay. Anyone else? Seeing none, can I get a motion to close public?
Motion to close public portion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Wow.
Okay. So at this point, we're going to move into closed session. I'm not sure how we're going to do that, Rose, but can we call you?
All right, they're going to
Yeah,
close
I guess so.
session.
Are you?
I'd like to stay
Can we
on.
call you on your regular phone,
Can we stay on?
Rose?
Can we stay on,
Sorry.
Rose?
Yes, I was muted.
Rose.
Yes, you can.
All right, good. Thank you. All right. So at this point, can I get a motion to move into closed session?
I think we're
Motion
going
to move into closed session.
Let's stay on the line. Let's have
All
our
in
own meeting.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. No further business will be conducted tonight after we come out. We're just going to close the meeting, okay? Thank you.
Oh, hurtful. That meeting was still going on. Oh, man. They got me. Oh, well. Well, that was interesting. All right, boys and girls, we'll See you tomorrow for more fun on the Ignorance is No Excuse tour here in New Jersey. That was Perth Amboy, and thank you for catching that one. That was really good that you caught that medical. I didn't see the agenda. I did see the agenda. I didn't see that ordinance, and it was at the bottom of the agenda. If you scroll down on Facebook, I put it there. You could scroll down and you could see the bottom. It says medical. It addresses medical. It says expressly prohibited medical. That's what happens when you cut and paste from other people's ordinances, from other people's ignorant ordinances. Hashtag they shall grow. Hashtag still waiting. Hashtag Jeff's Law. They went with songs to battle. No. They went with songs to the battle. They were young, straight of limb, true of eye, steady and aglow. They were staunch to the end, against odds uncounted. They fell with their faces to the foe. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.